Here's the truth most people do not want to hear. When someone walks out of your life, ignores your messages, leaves your care behind, and then suddenly comes back as if nothing happened, it is almost never random. It is not just late night boredom. It is not always love either. And if you have been sitting there asking yourself, why now? Why after all this silence? Why after I finally started healing? Then stay with me, because this is where everything starts to make sense. Human emotions are messy. People do not move in straight lines. They run, they hide, they test, they compare, they lose, and then they look back. The same person who acted like your presence did not matter can wake up one day feeling the weight of your absence like a storm in their chest. And when that moment hits them, they reach out. Not because time reversed, not because the pain never happened, but because distance taught them something your love had already shown them. So, if somebody from your past has returned, or if you feel that return coming, listen closely. This is not only about them. This is about you seeing clearly. This is about you understanding what their silence meant, what their return means, and why your value was never tied to whether they stayed or left. And trust me, the deeper we go, the more this is going to hit home, because the real answer is heavier, sharper, and more revealing than most people are ready for. One of the biggest reasons a person comes back after ignoring you is painfully simple. They found out that what you gave them was rare. While they had you, they got used to your warmth. They got used to your patience, your loyalty, your way of listening without judgment, your way of making them feel safe without asking for applause. To them, it started to feel normal. That is how people lose precious things. They stop seeing the value because they see it every day. Then they leave thinking the world is full of the same kind of heart. They think another smile will feel the same. Another connection will go just as deep. Another person will understand them without effort. But life has a way of exposing that lie. They meet new people. They try new spaces. They chase new attention. And still, something feels missing. Nobody holds them with the same sincerity. Nobody reads their silence the way you did. Nobody notices the little shifts in their mood. Nobody offers peace instead of pressure. And when they finally feel empty in rooms that should have felt exciting, your memory starts breathing inside. That is when regret grows teeth. That is when your absence becomes louder than all the noise around them. Keep listening, because this part matters. They did not come back because you were convenient. They came back because they discovered that real care is not easy to replace, and what felt common in your hands turned out to be uncommon everywhere else. Then time starts doing its quiet work. Time is ruthless that way. It does not argue. It does not explain. It just reveals. When they disappeared, they probably told themselves a story. Maybe they thought walking away would make life easier. Maybe they believed they had better options. Maybe they assumed your heart would always be there waiting in the exact same place, untouched, available, patient, forever. But as the days passed, reality began correcting the fantasy. Life without you did not feel as free as they imagined. The silence they created started echoing back at them. The comfort they took for granted was gone. The emotional stability they once leaned on without admitting it was no longer there, and suddenly what they used to ignore became unforgettable. Your messages they once delayed answering would now feel like a gift. Your care they once treated casually would now feel like healing. Your steady presence they barely noticed would now feel like home. This is what happens when someone learns your value too late. Your absence teaches them what your presence was doing all along. It is one thing to miss a person. It is another thing to realize that the peace they brought into your life was holding pieces of you together. That realization does not come quickly. It creeps in. It sits on the chest. It follows them into quiet nights. And once they fully see it, once they understand what they lost, that is often when the message appears, the call comes in, or the door they closed starts opening again. Sometimes it goes even deeper than missing you. Sometimes they miss the version of themselves that existed around you. That is a truth people rarely admit out loud. There are connections that do more than give affection. They wake something up inside a person, Around you, maybe they laughed more. Maybe they felt calmer. Maybe they dreamed bigger. Maybe they were softer, kinder, more alive, more honest. Maybe your love pulled them closer to the person they wanted to be. And after they left, life got louder, harder, colder. The people around them did not bring out that same light. The conversations felt empty. The excitement faded faster. The confidence dropped. Even the happiness looked fake. Then one day, maybe in the middle of a normal afternoon, maybe late at night when everything feels too quiet, a thought hits them hard. Why did life feel better back then? Why did I feel more like myself with them? Why did I throw away something that brought out the best in me? That question can haunt a person, because now they are not just thinking about you, they are thinking about the version of themselves they abandoned too. And when a person realizes they walked away from a connection that made them feel grounded, understood, and more fully alive, the urge to return becomes strong. Not always noble, not always pure, but strong. So if someone comes back, understand this. They may not only be reaching for your heart, they may be reaching for the lost part of themselves that your presence once helped them find. There is another reason people come back, and this one cuts deep. Sooner or later, many people end up feeling the same hurt they once caused. Life has strange ways of teaching lessons. The same person who left you confused may later be left confused. The same person who kept you waiting may later find themselves waiting. The same person who made you question your worth may later meet someone who treats them like they are easy to replace. And when that happens, their perspective changes fast. Pain is a powerful translator. It explains what words could not. Once they feel neglect in their own chest, once they know what it is like to be dismissed, once they experience the sting of emotional distance, they begin to understand the damage they created in you. This is where pride starts cracking. This is where their memory of you changes. You are no longer just the person they left behind. You become the person who loved them in a way they did not deserve at the time. And that realization can pull them back with force. Not always because they suddenly became wise. Sometimes because suffering opened their eyes. Sometimes because they finally felt the exact wound they once handed to someone else. Watch this carefully because it tells you everything. A person often does not understand your value when they are busy having access to you. They understand it when life removes comfort, strips away ego, and lets them taste the same loneliness they once placed in your hands. That is when memory becomes heavy. That is when guilt and longing begin to mix. And then there is the part nobody can fully explain with logic. Some connections do not disappear just because the conversation stopped. Some bonds leave an imprint. Even after months of silence, even after distance, even after both people try to move on, there can still be a pull. A strange feeling, a restless thought, an unshakable urge to check in, to search your name, to wonder how you are, to hear your voice one more time. That does not happen with every person. It happens with the ones who touched something real. You can call it emotional memory. You can call it attachment. You can call it unfinished energy. Whatever name you give it, the effect is the same. Your presence stayed with them. The way you cared, the way you saw through them, the way you held them in moments when they did not even understand themselves, all of that left marks. People pretend they can erase deep connection by staying silent. They cannot. Silence hides things. It does not always heal them. And when life slows down, when distractions stop working, when their heart gets honest for a second, what was buried starts rising. That is why a person can ignore you for so long and then suddenly feel drawn back as if an invisible string was pulled. Listen carefully here. Their return does not always mean destiny. Sometimes it only means the connection was real enough to haunt them, and real enough to make them look back when they thought they had already moved on. Another hard truth is this. Many people leave because they believe something better is waiting for them. That is the part nobody likes to say, but it happens all the time. They think there is a stronger thrill somewhere else, a more exciting connection, a person who asks for less and gives more, a place where they can be admired without being challenged. So they go, They test the world. They compare. They chase what looks shiny from a distance. But life keeps teaching the same lesson. Better is often an illusion. Different, yes. Easier for a moment, maybe. But not deeper, not safer, not more real. The kindness you gave, the patience you offered, the calm way you stood beside them, the loyalty that asked for nothing fake in return, all of that becomes impossible to duplicate once they actually lose it. They may find attraction elsewhere. They may find novelty. They may find attention, but attention is not devotion. Excitement is not trust. Chemistry is not peace. And once that truth becomes impossible to deny, your value becomes painfully clear. They start remembering details. The way you responded when they were overwhelmed. The way you stayed gentle when life was hard. The way you believed in them without making a performance out of it. Those things do not scream when they are present. They whisper. And because they whisper, people miss them until the room goes silent. That silence becomes the teacher. That emptiness becomes the proof. And that proof often becomes the road that leads them back to your door. But sometimes their return has less to do with love and more to do with fear. This part is important, so stay with me. A person who ignored you can suddenly come back the moment they see you moving on. The moment you stop chasing, stop explaining, stop reaching, stop checking your phone every 5 minutes hoping for a message, the power shifts. What once felt easy to them starts feeling unstable. They realize you are no longer frozen in the place where they left you. You are healing. You are rebuilding. You are finding peace without their involvement. And that can scare someone more than any argument ever could. Why? Because as long as you were waiting, they still felt in control. Your pain was proof that they still mattered. Your attention was proof that the door remained open. But when your energy pulls back, when your life starts filling up again, when your spirit stops circling around their absence, panic can hit them hard. Suddenly they want to know who you were talking to, what you were doing, whether you still think of them, whether they can still step back into your life whenever they feel like it. This is why some people reappear only when they sense they are truly losing access. It is not always because they changed. Sometimes it is because your growth exposed their insecurity. So be wise here. A return triggered by your healing is not the same as a return built on maturity. And if you miss that difference, you can mistake someone's fear of losing control for genuine love. There is also the reality that you may have been their emotional ground, even if they never admitted it. In a world full of temporary people, surface-level talk, weak promises, and unstable energy, you may have been the one thing that felt solid. You may have been the place where they rested, the person who made chaos feel smaller, the calm after their storms, the one who gave without turning love into a game. But because some people only understand stability after losing it, they do not recognize it when they have it. They leave the safe place searching for intensity, not knowing that peace is what they will beg for later. Then the outside world bruises them. New connections disappoint them. Fast excitement turns into confusion. Sweet words turn into mixed signals. Attention fades. Masks fall. And little by little they begin to understand that what they walked away from was not ordinary. You were not just another chapter. You were structure. You were stillness. You were the rare kind of person who did not just excite them. You anchored them. That is why some people come back when life gets rough. The world they ran toward does not hold them the way you did. It does not protect them. It does not soften their edges. And when they finally see that, your value hits differently. Not as an idea, as a need. But remember this next line because it matters. Just because someone returns to the place that felt safe does not always mean they have learned how to protect it. And now we get closer to the deepest truth. Sometimes they come back for one reason above all others, not to stay, not to rebuild, not even to be chosen again. Sometimes they come back so life can show you how far you have come. Think about that. The return itself can be the lesson, the message, the call, the reappearance, the sudden confession. All of it may happen not to reopen the old story, but to reveal that you are no longer the same person who was broken by their silence. The old you might have waited endlessly. The old you might have begged for clarity, chased closure, or treated their attention like oxygen. But now you see more. Now you feel more clearly. Now you know that your worth does not rise and fall based on whether they text back. And when they return, you get to witness your own growth with your own eyes. You get to notice that your heart is steadier, your vision is sharper, your standards are stronger. The person who once had the power to shake your whole world now stands in front of a version of you that understands value at a deeper level. That is powerful. Do not miss it. Sometimes the return is not a reward for them. It is confirmation for you. Confirmation that you survived what almost broke you. Confirmation that your healing was real. Confirmation that you did not lose them. They lost access to someone honest, loyal, and deeply rare. And once that truth lands fully in your spirit, you stop romanticizing the people who failed to recognize your light when it was freely in front of them. Still, let's go further because there is a mistake many people make at this exact point. They see the return and instantly attach meaning to it. They think this must be fate. This must be my sign. This must mean they finally understand everything. Slow down. Not every return is a promise. Not every apology is transformation. Not every late message carries the weight of accountability. Some people come back because they are lonely. Some come back because the new option failed. Some come back because they want comfort without responsibility. Some come back because they miss being loved, but still have no idea how to love properly in return. That is why your clarity matters more than they come back. You have to look beyond the emotion of the moment. Are they truly different, or are they simply uncomfortable? Are they willing to be honest, consistent, humble, and clear, or are they only reaching for temporary access? This is where self-respect becomes your shield. You do not have to be cold. You do not have to be bitter, but you do have to be awake. A person can miss you and still not be good for you. A person can return and still not deserve entry. A person can feel regret and still be emotionally unsafe. That is why this is not only about why they came back. It is about who you are when they do. Can you listen without collapsing? Can you observe without surrendering your standards? Can you remember the damage without letting nostalgia edit the truth? Because if you can do that, then their return no longer controls the story. Your wisdom does. And if we are being honest, one of the hardest parts of all this is the emotional confusion it creates. When someone who once ignored you suddenly returns, your heart can split in two directions. One part wants answers. One part wants justice. One part wants the tenderness you were denied. Another part wants to protect the healing you fought so hard for. That conflict is real. It does not make you weak. It makes you human. You can miss them and still know they hurt you. You can feel love and still choose distance. You can hear their words and still require proof. That is the balance many people struggle to hold. They think strength means feeling nothing. It does not. Strength often means feeling everything and still making the right choice. So if this kind of return has happened to you, take your time. Do not let old longing rush you into old pain. Do not let one message erase months of confusion. Do not let a familiar voice pull you back into a place your soul barely escaped. Watch their actions. Watch their consistency. Watch whether they can hold real accountability without turning the story in their favor. And while you watch them, watch yourself too. Notice if your peace disappears the moment they enter again. Notice if your nervous system tightens. Notice if your joy gets replaced by anxiety. Your body often understands what your heart is still trying to deny. This next part is crucial. Love that costs you your peace is not the kind of love that builds a life. It may feel intense. It may feel magnetic. But intensity without safety becomes destruction dressed up as passion. So yes, there are many reasons a person comes back after ignoring you. They come back because nobody loved them the way you did. They come back because time taught them what they were too blind to see. They come back because they miss who they were with you. They come back because life made them feel the pain they caused. They come back because deep connection leaves a mark. They come back because they learned that what you gave was rare. They come back because your healing frightened them. They come back because your presence was more grounding than they realized. And sometimes, above all else, they come back so you can finally see yourself clearly, so you can stop asking what was wrong with you, so you can stop carrying the shame of someone else's inability to value what was real, so you can finally understand that being ignored never made you less worthy. It only revealed where maturity was missing on their side. Let that sink in. You were not too much. You were not hard to love. You were not forgettable. If anything, your depth was too real for someone who only understood value after loss. And that is not your failure. That is their lesson. If this is hitting you right now, stay to the end in your own heart. Do not rush past the truth. Sit with it, feel it. Let it rebuild your self-respect from the inside out. And if they are back now, if their name has reappeared on your screen, if their energy has somehow found its way back into your life, remember this before you do anything else. You do not owe immediate access. You do not owe instant forgiveness. You do not owe a reunion just because they finally felt your absence. Their timing is not your emergency. Their regret is not your responsibility. Their awakening does not erase your wound. You are allowed to pause. You are allowed to question. You are allowed to protect the peace you created after they left. In fact, that may be the most powerful thing you can do, because once you truly know your worth, you stop treating every return like a blessing. Some returns are tests. Some are mirrors. Some are closures wearing the face of a second chance, and some are real, but only if backed by change you can actually feel over time. So, move slowly. Let truth reveal itself. Do not let old chemistry talk louder than present reality. Do not let memory make the past softer than it was. You know what silence felt like. You know what confusion cost you. You know how hard you worked to gather yourself back together. Honor that work. Honor the version of you that survived the disappearing act. The messages, the nights of replaying everything in your head. That version of you deserves loyalty from you now, more than anyone else does. At the end of it all, this is the message. When someone comes back after ignoring you, the deepest question is not why they returned. The deepest question is whether you now see yourself clearly enough to decide what that return deserves. That is where your power lives. Not in being chosen by them, but in choosing from a place of self-respect. Not improving your value, but in remembering you never lost it. Not in reopening the door because they knocked, but in asking whether their presence honors the peace that grew after they left. People circle back. Life does that. Hearts wake up late. Regret arrives late. Clarity arrives late. But your job is not to rescue everyone who realizes your worth after the damage is done. Your job is to stay connected to your own. So, if someone from your past reaches out, do not panic. Do not shrink. Do not assume this is the answer to the ache you once carried. Maybe it is a chance. Maybe it is a lesson. Maybe it is simply proof that what you gave was unforgettable. But whatever it is, let it meet a stronger version of you. Let it meet someone who knows that real love does not play games with silence, does not vanish without care, does not return expecting the same access after breaking trust. And if you remember that, really remember it, then no one will ever be able to enter and leave your life the way they once did, because now you know the truth. They did not come back because you were weak. They came back because your worth stayed alive in their memory long after they walked away.